Hello, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I get to talk about one of my favorite elements, and I'm doing it for a grade, so my time isn't going to waste. A little disclaimer, first of all, I'm not a professional, and I am going to oversimplify a lot of things in this video. I could talk about this element for literal hours, but for your sake, I won't. Alright, let's get right into it. This is such a funny little element, and by funny little element, I mean it can and will kill you. Even more interesting, to me at least, is that it was sold to the public in the form of paint, food, and even magical cures. That's right, folks, I'm talking about radium. Let's learn a little bit about its chemical makeup before I get into its manufacturing. So, radium is a natural element. It is a radionuclide, and it occurs when uranium and or thorium go through a chemical decay. Keep thorium in mind. Remember, radioactive just refers to whenever the nucleus of an atom breaks down, which means all isotopes of radium are radioactive given the conditions it forms under. Radium is luminescent, which means it glows from its radiation. When the nucleus breaks down, it has to emit that energy somewhere, and so it emits it in a bunch of different forms, but one of those forms is light, and that's how radium glows. So what was radium used in? Everything. It was used in everything, but I'm going to give you some examples that I find interesting, and I'm going to start with the watches. Yeah, I'm starting with the watches because everyone knows about the watches, or most people do. Radioluminescent paint used to be applied to watch like the turners and the hands. One of the biggest corporations at this time was the Radium Luminous Material Corporation. They were one of the biggest distributors of radium paint and watches. The watch painting industry mainly employed young women who came to be known as the radium girls. What happened to them was that they needed a fine point for their brush, so they would put it in between their lips, but in doing so, they ingested a lot of radium over a long period of time. Their prolonged exposure and ingestion of radium caused them to get aggressive bone cancer as well as many other side effects, including anemia, cataracts, and broken teeth. I want to make it super clear that these young women, the radium girls, were told that this practice was completely safe by the corporations they were working for. It was thought to be so safe that it was even sold in the form of chocolate, which supposedly had healing benefits if you were unwell. It was sold as toothpaste to give you a radiant smile. It was sold as a hand cleanser to really burn away the germs, and it was sold as a face cream. At least we know they got glowing reviews. So let's go through some interesting examples that I found about radium being sold in really fun, interesting things. And by fun and interesting, I mean deadly. Radium was sold in tablet form by many manufacturers, including Becquerel, I hope I'm saying that right, and Associated Radium Chemists, Inc. around the 1920s. It was supposed to be a cure for infections, diabetes, gout, arthritis, and anemia. Now we know it actually causes anemia, but back then it was thought to be a cure. Dr. Howell's Great Flu and Pneumonia Cure was a remedy that claimed to cure all forms of germs, microbes, inflammation, etc., etc. Dr. Howell had a lot of products. He also sold a harmless eye remedy, which was meant to cure cataracts and restore eyesight. He sold a harmless radium pile cure, which was supposed to heal anything and everything. There was a Dr. Howell's radium cure for deafness and head noises, which is meant to make the deaf hearing, and I couldn't find any claims about the head noises. At first I thought he was referring to schizophrenia, but then I was like, maybe he's talking about tinnitus and like ringing in your ears? I'm not sure. There was also Dr. Howell's harmless radium cure for enlarged prostate glands, which was an interesting read, and I wish I didn't read it. You're probably thinking that last one was a one-off case, but no, unfortunately there are several radium products that were targeted below the belt. I had to read them. I had to read all about them. So I'm gonna give you some that are the funniest, in the cleanest way I can. There are these things called gland tablets, which are tablets you take to restore vitalization. It was specifically targeted towards men with the name New Man Gland Tablets. I think this one's really funny. There was Magic Radium Massage, which had such a detailed documentation of what it was for and what it was supposed to do and how you use it. And I hate that I read the entire thing, but I did. and I will spare you because it's long. But my favorite part is that you're supposed to feel a warm, tingling sensation upon application. I can't believe I forgot to say this, but radium was also used in prophylactics. Anyway, let's talk about Radithor because I don't want to talk about that anymore. Remember how I told you to remember thorium? Probably not, but I'm thinking this is where they got the second half of the name from. Manufactured by Bailey Radium Laboratories from the 1920s to the 1930s, Radithor was a mix of radium and triple distilled water meant to cure, well, just about everything. Introducing Radithor, the certified radioactive cure for amenorrhea, anemia, angina, arthritis, arteriosclerosis, asthenia, asthma, chorea, diabetes, epilepsy, glandular stimulant, general debility, gastric neurosis, heart disease, palpitations, high blood pressure, hyper/hypothyroid, hysteria, infection, inflammatory conditions, kidney disease, menopause, metabolism, muscular atrophy, myelitis, neuralgia, neurasthenia, neurosis, obesity, prostatitis, rheumatism, senility, sexual decline, sinus conditions, skin disorders, wrinkles, stimulant, fertility. Buy it today. Yeah, so that was sold as a drink, basically. There was also a standard radium solution for drinking. I couldn't get a specific manufacturer for it, but I did get the dates of 1915 to 1920. There were also several other things that I saw, but they were things that you could buy and then use. It wasn't specifically sold as like a drink. It was something that you would put radium into and then like you would drink it all together. Sort of like a protein shake, but with radium. If you couldn't already tell, drinking radium is really, really bad for you. But why? And more importantly, what makes radium one of my favorite elements? Well, it's an alkaline earth metal. This means that it's in the second group of the periodic table. Anything in the periodic table that's in the same group is going to be very similar structurally speaking. See, radium is an alkaline earth metal, but so is calcium, and that means that it's very structurally similar to calcium, which means that when you ingest radium, or if you ingest radium, please don't eat radium, your body will try to process it the best way it can, which is taking it in as if it's calcium, which means that it gets absorbed through your stomach lining and through your small intestine, and then it gets sent through your bloodstream, and then it gets sent to be processed, which means it's sent into your bones, which makes it incredibly dangerous. That is why the radium girls got bone cancer and lung cancer specifically, because their body was trying to process this radium as if it were calcium. Radium was officially banned in 1968, which is a crazy amount of time. Most of the examples I gave today were used mainly in the 1920s to the 1940s, but these things were sold for as far out as the 1960s, almost the 1970s. I think that is so interesting, which is why it's one of my favorite elements. I just think that's crazy. Thank you so much for watching. I enjoyed making this fun little video about radium and some of my favorite radium products, which are actually my least favorite radium products. But thank you for watching. Bye!